This might look like a normal scroll to top button on any website, but what if I told you that you can make this button on WordPress without any plugin? So in this video, I'm going to show you how you can create a scroll to top button in WordPress using the Gutenberg editor and a little bit of CSS. So let's get into it. Okay, now I'm in the WordPress dashboard, but before we start, there are two things that you need to know. First, this method will only work for a block theme. So block theme is a new type of WordPress theme that allows you to design your web page with just the Gutenberg editor. And if your WordPress theme is not a block theme, then this method is not for you, although I believe that you would still learn something from this video. And secondly, this scroll to top button doesn't behave the same way as a traditional scroll to top button, because honestly, we are cutting a lot of corners and there are some downside that makes it not very suitable for all websites, but I'll get into that. Anyway, let's start by opening the editor page. So go to your WordPress dashboard and then click Appearance, click Editor. Okay, by the way, I'm using the 2024 WordPress theme. This is original, vanilla. I haven't changed anything and I'm not installing any plugin on my test website here. So after that, you can click anywhere on this area. It will basically bring up this Gutenberg editor page, and don't forget to open this list view because it will really help us to see the structure of the document or the page. And you might want to open this setting tab. So originally it was closed, but you have to make sure that this is open because there are a few customizations that are going to be shown in this part. So the next thing we need to do is to add the block button, and we want to convert that button into a scroll to top button. I'm going to click on the footer here because I want to add a block at the very end. And the reason of that is if I made some mistake on my page or I mess up my design, then at least it's happening at the very end. It's usually not the part that most people would see in general. Anyway, let's add a new block by clicking this and click add after. It will add another block below the footer. I'm going to type /buttons. Click on it and let's move it to the right. Click justify items right. And for the symbol, I'm usually going to be using a simple arrow that is pointing to the top. You can use the keyboard shortcut Alt, 2, and 4 on the numeric key. So it will give you this nice character. You can also use an emoji, you can use a symbol, or you can just go to Google and find some app arrow inspiration that you might want to use for this button. So basically, that's the first thing that you need to do. And then let's add a hyperlink for this button. Click on this link icon and enter has. I know that this is something that is used for fragment identifier. Usually it's for navigating a different section of a website, but we don't have to add anything. We just need to add this has symbol. And after that, click enter. And there you go. The next thing to do is to add a CSS class to this button. So click on the button, go to this menu that says settings, go to advanced, and here on the additional CSS class, you have to enter the class or basically the name of this button in the CSS code. I'm going to call it scroll to top. You can give it any name. It's totally up to you. Oops, I pressed the wrong button again. So yeah, it's going to be like this. And when you're done, we basically need to move this button block to either footer or header. Then you might ask, why would you put this element into another existing working element? Well, because footer and header are the two design or the two elements that will appear everywhere on your website. And because of that, we want to basically piggybacking that element, and this will ensure that the button, the scroll to top button, will appear on every page of your website. I personally prefer to put this button at the footer, so I'm going to click and drag it here. And there you go. Now this button, this block buttons belongs to this footer. So the button will be part of this footer family and it will go anywhere the footer goes. And now the button block is being part of the footer block, then we can start adding some CSS code. So to add a CSS code, you have to click on this menu that says styles and then go to additional CSS and let's enter this code. I'm going to just copy and paste it Right, okay, I'm going to explain this CSS code a bit. So basically this scroll to top is the class of the button, and these two lines are basically just giving a tiny gap of that button relative to the screen. So it will make sure that it's not exactly at the very corner of the screen. And lastly is the Z index. So this will make sure that the button is not going to be overlapped by another element on your website. And after that, you can click Save. Let's see what it's going to look like on our website. Okay, look at that. Now this is a button. I think it's working, but there is a little bit of problem because the scroll to top button is usually only appear when you are scrolling to the button. It doesn't make any sense that this button is here when you are actually still at the very top of the page. So we want to make it to only appear when we are scrolling the page. However, that behavior is basically impossible without a JavaScript code. So how do we solve this problem? Well, there is one simple way. CSS basically allows you to add an animation, and interestingly, we can add a delay to the animation. So we can make this scroll to top button to only appear after a few seconds, basically giving our visitors a time to scroll down, and when they do, the button will appear. This is not exactly a perfect alternative, but I think given the limitation, this is the only way to go. Anyway, let's update our CSS code. So I have this code that I have prepared, and I'm going to remove this old code and replace it with a new one. The new code basically adds some animation and delay to that button. Let's click Save and see the result. Okay, let's see our page again. Okay, it doesn't appear. We scroll and yeah, so what I did was I add a 5-second delay to this button and then it will appear. Honestly, this is not the most elegant solution, but given the limitation, then compromise is necessary. So let's try clicking on this button and see what would happen. Boom. Okay, that was jaggy, and I don't think that's the kind of style that you want to implement to your website. Yeah, it's so jaggy, but fortunately this is a problem that is easy to fix. So basically when you see something like this, it means that the theme doesn't have a smooth scroll effect CSS, and this is something that is easy to implement. So let's go back to that editor again, and I'm going to enter this new CSS, just add another line and just paste. So this is the CSS code to enable the smooth scroll effect on our website. Let's click Save again and let's see the result. Okay, 5 seconds and it should appear. Yeah, so click on that. It's really smooth. Let's scroll to the very bottom and try this button again. Yep, that is exactly the kind of animation or the kind of smooth scrolling that you want to have on your website. So yeah, this is definitely not the most perfect scroll to top button in WordPress. There are many things you can customize, you can make it even better. Perhaps you are not going to implement this scroll to top button on your own website, but I think the concept that you can click on a button or on a link and it will bring you to the very top of the page, that might be the kind of feature that you want to implement to your own website. So anyway, I have learned something from today's video. Even though this is not the most perfect scroll to top button in WordPress, I think this could be a proof of concept that many elements on any normal website could be replicated with just the Gutenberg editor and some CSS code. And this is actually a good way to reduce your dependency on plugins. And if you want to make your WordPress website faster by reducing plugins, then check out this video and I'll see you there.